In the Philippines, earthquakes don't just happen. They happen more than 100 times a year. Each time, buildings shudder, families run for cover, and sometimes thousands don't make it out. It's not bad luck. It's not a curse. It's because the Philippines sits directly on the world's most violent crossroads, 4 colliding tectonic plates, surrounded by 7 deadly trenches, and cut by a fault line that splits entire cities. That's why earthquakes keep hitting the Philippines again and again. And why, if you live here, escaping the next one isn't just about statistics, but what actually keeps this cycle going, and why can't anyone stop it? The answer begins right beneath your feet. The Pacific Ring of Fire stretches in a vast arc, 25,000 miles long, wrapping around the ocean from South America to Alaska, down through Japan, Indonesia, and New Zealand. This zone is the planet's most active earthquake belt, responsible for about 90% of all earthquakes worldwide. The Philippines sits squarely in the heart of this ring, at a crossroads where the Earth's crust never stops shifting. Every year, more than 100 earthquakes are recorded across the country. At least 20 of these are strong enough to damage buildings, disrupt lives, or worse. Schools empty out in the middle of lessons, hospitals brace for aftershocks, and families keep their shoes and flashlights by the door, ready for the next tremor. It's not just a matter of chance. This relentless shaking is the result of the Philippines' exact position on the map. Here, 4 massive slabs of the Earth's crust, called tectonic plates, meet and collide. The Eurasian plate presses in from the west, the Philippine Sea plate from the east, the Pacific plate from the northeast, and the Sunda plate from the south. Each one moves at its own pace, pushing and grinding against the others, sometimes just a few centimeters per year. But over decades and centuries, that movement builds up enormous pressure, enough to snap rock deep underground and send shockwaves racing through the islands. This is why earthquakes are an everyday reality, because the ground beneath the Philippines is under constant stress from every direction. The energy never fully releases. Instead, it builds, slips, and builds again, setting the stage for the next big quake. In this corner of the Ring of Fire, the question isn't if another earthquake will strike, but when and how strong the next one will be. Pressure beneath the Philippines doesn't just come from one direction. 4 tectonic plates, Eurasian, Philippine Sea, Pacific, and Sunda, are all pushing, pulling, and grinding against each other at once. Each plate moves between 2 and 10 centimeters every year. That might sound slow, but over decades, this movement stores up massive amounts of energy in the crust. When the rocks finally snap, the release is sudden and violent. This collision creates 2 main earthquake threats. The first is offshore. 7 major trenches, Manila, East Luzon, Philippine, Cotabato, Negros, Sulu, and the boundary of the Philippine Sea Plate, surround the archipelago. These are subduction zones where one plate dives beneath another. When these trenches rupture, they trigger some of the world's largest earthquakes, sometimes reaching magnitude 8 or 9. These events can also send tsunamis racing toward the islands, often with little warning. No part of the country is out of reach. The island geography means every coastline faces its own trench risk. But the danger isn't just offshore. The second threat runs right through the heart of the country. The Philippine Fault System is a 1,200-kilometer-long network of cracks slicing across Luzon, the Visayas, and Mindanao. Unlike the trenches, these are strike-slip faults, places where the ground slides horizontally. The Marikina Valley Fault, for example, cuts directly through Metro Manila, home to over 13 million people. Some fault segments haven't moved in centuries, but the pressure hasn't gone away. It's still building, millimeter by millimeter, year after year. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHVOLCS, tracks these moving plates, maps the trenches, and monitors the fault lines. Yet even with more than 100 seismic stations, no one can predict exactly when or where the next rupture will happen. All that's certain is the cycle never ends. The plates keep moving. The pressure keeps building, and earthquakes will always be part of life in the Philippines. Metro Manila sits at the crossroads of danger. 13 million people live atop the Marikina Valley Fault, a line that slices through Quezon City, Marikina, Pasig, Taguig, and Muntinlupa. This fault hasn't moved since 1658, but it's locked, storing energy year after year. PHI-VOLCS estimates a magnitude 7.2 quake could kill over 34,000 and injure more than 100,000 in a single day. The risk doesn't end with shaking. Offshore, the Manila Trench shadows the city. A rupture there could send tsunami waves racing toward the coast, with little time for warning. In Mindanao, the Cotabato Trench stalks the southern seas. In 1976, a magnitude 8 earthquake here triggered a tsunami that killed around 8,000 people. Whole villages swept away in minutes. That trench is due for another major event with recurrence intervals of just 50 to 100 years. In 2025, Davao felt a magnitude 7.4 quake, prompting tsunami alerts and mass evacuations. Inland, the Mindanao Fault System and the Philippine Trench add to the threat, shaking cities and triggering landslides. The Visayas are no safer. The Negros Trench produced a deadly earthquake in 2012, killing 51. In September 2025, Cebu was rocked by a magnitude 6.9 quake, 75 dead, over 1,200 injured, and more than 77,000 displaced. Here, islands mean shorter warning times for tsunamis, and aftershocks keep families sleeping outside for days. Northern Luzon faces its own perils. The East Luzon Trench threatens the Pacific coast, while the 1990 Luzon earthquake, magnitude 7.7, devastated Baguio, flattening buildings and triggering deadly landslides in the mountains. In this region, steep slopes turn shaking into avalanches, burying communities in seconds. Every region has its own story, but the pattern is clear. Whether you live in a crowded city, a coastal village, or a mountain town, the ground beneath you is restless. The risk is not just theoretical. It's written in the history of every province and in the lived experience of millions. For Filipinos, knowing your region's threat isn't just useful, it's a matter of survival. Surviving in the world's earthquake capital means acting before disaster strikes. Start with the basics. Pack a 72-hour emergency kit. For each person, that means at least 3 liters of water per day, enough food that won't spoil, a flashlight, a battery-powered radio, a whistle, and a first aid kit. Keep your important documents in a waterproof container. Cash matters. Have at least 5,000 to 10,000 pesos ready, since ATMs and banks often go offline. Power banks and extra cables can keep your phone alive when the grid fails. At home, secure heavy furniture to the wall. Know how to shut off your gas, electricity, and water. Identify the safest spot in every room, under a sturdy table or beside an interior wall, away from windows. Keep shoes and a flashlight by your bed so you're not caught barefoot in broken glass. If you can, get your home checked for structural safety. Even small reinforcements can make a difference. When the ground starts shaking, drop to your hands and knees, cover your head and neck, and hold on until the shaking stops. Don't run outside. Most injuries come from falling debris. If you're in bed, stay there and protect your head with a pillow. Never use elevators. For coastal families, remember the 20-second rule. If you feel strong shaking for more than 20 seconds, move to higher ground immediately, at least 20 meters up or 2 kilometers inland if you can. Don't wait for sirens or official warnings. Tsunami waves can arrive in 5 to 20 minutes. No one survives alone. In the Philippines, bayanihan, community spirit, turns neighbors into lifelines. Share supplies, check on the elderly, and join local drills. Households that plan together recover faster. Set a meeting point, choose an out-of-area contact, and practice your escape routes. If you're under 40, it's almost certain you'll face a major quake in your lifetime. But being ready puts you ahead of most. Preparation doesn't erase fear, but it turns fear into power. In a country where earthquakes never stop, readiness is survival. Every year, the Philippines is shaken by more than 100 earthquakes, over 20 strong enough to cause damage. This is not chance, but the direct result of 4 tectonic plates colliding beneath the islands, 7 active subduction trenches offshore, and a 1,200-kilometer fault system running inland. Archival records confirm that major disasters, from the 1976 Moro Gulf tsunami to the 1990 Luzon earthquake, have shaped the nation's history and exposed ongoing vulnerabilities. Scientists can map faults and estimate recurrence intervals, but no instrument can predict the exact timing of the next major quake. What remains unknown is which fault will rupture next and when. Yet evidence is clear. The plates will never stop moving. The risk is permanent, but so is the potential for survival. Building quality, preparedness, and community action, not luck, determine who lives through the next event. Understanding the forces at work is not just knowledge, it is the single greatest survival advantage.